Okay, continuing on, reading this old copy of Marx's Capital that I found in a bookstore. 1906. I love old books. They feel, I don't know, something about them. Gritty. So we're on page 799. Again, I'll put links below if you wanted to go and buy a copy of it. It's not this old copy, but if you follow the links, I think that supports the channel in some way, which is a good thing. Let us hear for a moment a defender of enclosures and an opponent of Dr. Price. Quote, nor is it a consequence that there must be depopulation, because men are not seen wasting their labor in the open field. If by converting the little farmers into a body of men who must work for others, more labor is produced, it is an advantage which the nation, and outside of the quote, to which of course the converted ones do not belong, continue with the quote, should wish for. The produce being greater when the joint laborers are employed in one farm, there will be a surplus for manufacturers. And by this means, manufacturers, one of the minds of the nation, will increase in proportion to the quantity of the corns produced. Okay, so how would I read that now in the 21st century? It's probably going to be different than the critique that Marx gives, right? But mine's ecological. We're producing so much. We produce far too much. It's one of the challenges, I guess, of AI, because it's just one more production tool. Every single tool made since capitalism has produced not conviviality, not our living together better or healthier or more contact with each other, which YouTube itself does, but does commercials beforehand, right? Even my page, which isn't monetized, gets commercials on it, right? It's pretty disgusting, I would say. But it's an ecological challenge. We keep producing this much. We produce more and more. We've got a finite world. We really do. Using so many resources, destroying so many lives of animals. We're in the 6th great extinction, but the first one caused by one of the animals living on this planet, and that is humans. God didn't mean for us. He meant for us to be good stewards. Okay, now continuing. Of course, God will play no part in Marx's critique. Let's see what he says. The stoical peace of mind. Oh, stoicism, man. It comes back now when the economy's all crap and people are suffering, except for the billionaires. Stoicism is a way in the Roman Empire used to trick their populace into being worthless and not doing anything for the good. And it's all over YouTube now, isn't it? Not saying the Stoics themselves, the philosophers aren't great as philosophers per se. Saying the result of it, the popular Stoicism that's so thin, so shallow, is meant just to keep people from doing anything, keep people from revolting. The stoical peace of mind with which the economist regards the most shameless violation of the sacred rights of property and the grossest acts of violence towards persons, as soon as they are necessary to lay the foundations of a capitalistic mode of production, is shown by Sir F.M. Eden, philanthropist and Tory to boot. The whole series of thefts, outrages, and popular misery that accompanied the forcible expropriation of the people from the 3rd of the 15th century to the end of the 18th century led him merely to a comfortable conclusion. Quote, the due proportion between arable land and pasture land had to be established. During the whole of the 14th and the greater part of the 15th century, there was 1 acre of pasture to 2 or 3 or even 4 of arable land. About the middle of the 16th century, the proportion was changed to 2 acres of pasture to 2. Later on, 2 acres of pasture to 1 arable, until at last a just proportion of 3 acres of pasture to 1 of arable was attained. Look at that. Each of those, even when Tory, I think that's a conservative party in England. I'm not sure. Not into other countries' politics, not much into my own country's politics because ours is broken. I would think they're more conservative parties, probably more like our Democrats. Continuing on. In the 19th century, okay, so this is Marxian. In the 19th century, the very memory of the connection between the agricultural labor and the communal property had, of course, vanished. Just like there's Catholics now in the KKK, the very memory of their grandparents being strung and lynched and killed, say in New Orleans. I mean, that's why we have the Columbus Day celebration in the first place, because of the 17 Catholics murdered in New Orleans on that day. And to appease them, they created Columbus Day, because they were Italian Catholics. And so the Italian Catholics still hold to Columbus Day very firmly, even though the memory of why they hold to it so firmly may have faded for many, right? They don't remember that it's because the KKK had slaughtered so many Catholics. They just remember that they have this celebration of Italian heritage, which is a beautiful thing. Continuing on. To say nothing of more recent times, have the agricultural population receiving a farthing of compensation for the 3,511,770 acres of common land, which between 1801 and 1831 were stolen from them by parliamentary devices presented to the landlords by the landlords. Again, I'm not much of a sociologist, so the numbers don't connect in my brain as well as words do. Right? But it seemed like a lot of land being stolen from people. And at 4 acres a pop, with 4 acres in the Middle Ages being enough to support a family and provide some surplus and give you plenty of time to offer up additional work to the larger lands for a price, of course. You know, all that being taken, that's a lot of people that were now in the city poor, Les Mis style, suffering. At the end of the day, you get nothing for nothing. And we're still in that situation, nothing for nothing. You work hard as you can, and you still get nothing. Because they don't think of it as nothing. They think of it as they've taken your land from you. They might as well take your life from you too. One day at a time, 1 hour at a time, one punch card at a time. One email on your free time at a time. Continuing on. The last process of wholesale expropriation of the agricultural population from the soil is finally the so-called clearing of the estates. The sweeping of men off them. All the English methods hitherto considered culminated in a clearing. As we saw, let me write that down, clearing. They called it the clearing. As we saw in the picture of modern conditions given in a former chapter, there are no more independent peasants to get rid of. The clearing of cottages begins, so that the agricultural laborers do not find on the soil cultivated by them even the spot necessary for their own housing. But what clearing of estates really and properly signifies, we learn only in the promised land of the modern romance, the Highlands of Scotland. Now we're on to the Scottish part, which is a pretty good part of this chapter. So I think everybody should read this chapter, right? You might not read any other Marx. I mean, I don't know why people read the Communist Manifesto. It's just not a very good piece of philosophy. I guess it's energetic, youthful, exciting for teenagers. Make a good comic book, right? But it's not philosophy and it's not history. This, well done. This is why why Marx is a classic, right? There, the process is distinguished by its systematic character, by the magnitude of the scale on which it is carried out at one blow, In Ireland, landlords have gone to length of sweeping away several villages at once. In Scotland, areas as large as German principalities are dealt with. Finally, by the peculiar form of property under which the embezzled lands were held. We'll continue there with Scotland next time. That's about 10 minutes, which is how long I've been doing each of these sections. So page 800, if you have the same copy of the book to follow along with. We only got a couple more pages to go, so either 1 or 2 more sessions and we'll finish this chapter up. Have a blessed day.